A report on gender equality for directors in the European film industry discovered that inequality is perpetuated by a combination of factors. These include the competitive habits of the marketplace, industry structures, the impact of new technology and false assumptions about women's abilities and business risk. The report found that the barriers preventing women from working in the industry include gender bias, the struggle for funding, risk aversion on the part of investors, lower share of broadcasting funds for women directors, and low representation of women on commissioning and funding panels. Well, for more on the challenges faced by women in the film industry, we speak to filmmaker Londiwe Shange. A very good afternoon to you, Londiwe. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, let's just begin with your journey as a female in the space of the film industry and directing. How did you get to become a director, and how was that journey for you?
Well, I went to go study filmmaking in a film school. I went to AFDA, and I wanted to study acting, and I fell in love with the craft behind the scenes as well. And I dived into the world of film writing and directing, majored in the two subjects, and then I became a film writer, director, and actress. So the journey has been a bit rocky because obviously I'm still at the beginning stages of my career. I currently run a film production company based in Durban, which is a bit more challenging than what I anticipated, especially because there are a lot of factors that you need to take into consideration when you're trying to tap into the industry. At first, I didn't think of starting my own production company, but because, there were so many barriers and challenges in trying to get into the industry itself, there are already so many challenges, and being a woman, it makes it a bit more difficult, because we have to deal with so much. Literally a few days ago, a friend of mine who's also in the industry and myself, we were talking about the perception around female filmmakers in the country and how we're perceived. There are very few female directors, very few female directors who are in charge. And it's a scary thing, because the industry in South Africa has been around for quite some time now, So it's been a very rocky start, and it's been challenging. And I started my own production company because I was like, I don't wanna be in this space anymore of trying to get in so hard. You have to start somewhere, and I started my own production company because I wanted to build a space for women whereby it would be safe, we would be able to, be creative, and without people asking us for favors, in terms of whether in all spheres, either sexual favors or people thinking that, we're not capable enough of doing anything without being asked to give your body off or give yourself off in that manner.
So, Ms. Shange, some of the challenges that you're mentioning now, and you call them favors, but actually it's sexual harassment. Is it still normalized that men in the filmmaking industry, can make those kinds of advances towards women, and it should be considered okay? And are women still expected to do what we call couch auditions?
In this industry, it's so subtle, because a lot of I've had to come across certain circumstances whereby the sexual harassment, anything that you do and you do it in a way that is unwelcome, it falls under sexual harassment. I find that a lot of males, they either fail or do not want to learn about what is sexual harassment and what is considered to be sexual harassment. And when we come into this industry as new creatives, we don't actually, we are, yes, we are told to look out for these things, but we don't really. I think it's a matter of you really want to get there, and it has been normalized for a very long time, and you know, I've had instances whereby people are getting asked to sleep with other people in the industry, not in the people who are in the industry, but and they are holding high positions in the names of getting roles or getting a job. Cult casting is a huge factor, and people always get really disappointed when they don't get the role, or they get blocked off, or because of speaking out, etc. So these are things that are normalized, but I also think that these are things that people need to know about and people need to be aware of and be educated on, so that when you do get into the industry, you don't fall under that trap. You know where to go and you know who to speak to, and you know who to get advice from, especially if you're new. Having an agent is so crucial if you're an actress, because you have someone who's going to speak up for you when you're having these issues.
And with regards to some of the other challenges, you mentioned that you, in the pursuit of trying to be able to express yourself more freely, have started your own company. Do you find that perhaps financing or funding for different films is actually used as a tool to try and limit how you're able to express yourself? Are you forced as women oftentimes to create films of a certain type, to sort of align with a certain stereotype?
No, I haven't faced that challenge myself, actually. I've been fortunate. We've been fortunate enough with our company that, when we apply for funding, we have not been stereotyped. I think because we have such in KwaZulu-Natal, to be specific, we have a great support system from the KwaZulu-Natal Film Commission, and they really do encourage us to tell stories that are going to be challenging, and stories that are really going to speak about the issues that we are facing, stories that are going to challenge the norms, stories that are going to challenge patriarchy. They always encourage more stories like that. And I think if people were aware of funding institutions such as the KwaZulu-Natal Film Commission, I think, and getting advice and being able to speak up, I think it would be not great, not better, but it would be a step forward. And I think that in terms of funding, when I'll make an example with my film touches on different kinds of abuse, and we're not boxed to say this is the type of story that you should be writing about. And that's from my personal experience. And of course, there are other filmmakers who've had different experiences. But for me, from my side, I've never experienced that.
Now, you also mentioned that people who are getting into the industry, there are certain things that they should be aware of. So if you wanted to give advice to young women right now who are either actresses or wanting to become film directors or owning their own companies, you mentioned that starting out, having an agent is important. What else should they be aware of or should they have in place as they get into this industry?
Firstly, we need to be aware of the type of industry that you're getting into. You need to be aware of the career that you're getting into. One of the things that hit us the most is when we are out of film school. No one really tells you that once you're out of film school, that's where it's really hard. So, number one, as I said, having an agent, researching your agents who are agents in South Africa that are really good. Number two, finding a mentor. I think people, actresses who are starting out, most of the time we just moving with the flow and we trying to figure out where we are going. But finding a mentor really helps because, you know, when you don't have an agent and you have a mentor, for example, you can pick up the phone and be like, hey, this is happening. I don't know what to do. And the mentor can help you and guide you and give you the steps that you need. So for me, those are the top two, having an agent, and if you don't have an agent, find a mentor. And I think that's crucial.
You also mentioned mentorship being something important. Having started your own business, is this something that you're going to be considering to have factored into what you offer as a company?
Yes, definitely. That's one of our goals in the company, to have mentorship programs for female filmmakers, for emerging filmmakers as well, who are recent graduates, providing mentorship in terms of what to look out for in the industry, also providing opportunities for young filmmakers. Mentorship is something that is really needed. Having someone or people to look out for you or guide you in this industry is, I can't stress enough how imperative it is, because if you don't have anyone to speak to or to ask questions, you're really just going to go with the wind, and that's not ideal for any person, especially in the type of era that we live in now. There's so much going on. People have anxiety, people have depression, etc. And if you can just pick up the phone and speak to someone and be like, hey, I don't know where to go from here, you'll be able to, go forward with a clear head, and you'll be able to know what you're going to be, doing in the industry. And also, even if you are not in the industry, but you already know what to look out for. So when things do come by, you're not going to be surprised. Mm-hmm. It's going to be at the moment that goes, oh yes, I was told about this, so it's not going to be like a huge shock for you. It's not going to, bring you down. You're just going to continue.
Well, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon and sharing those very important insights. That was Londiwe Shange, who is a filmmaker.